day, good afternoon to you, and welcome to Bena Midday News. We're bringing you this news live from Benap House, Atomic Junction, Medina. My name is Sherifatu Aiba. Coming up in this afternoon's bulletin, the minority in Parliament has called on the majority caucus to take the necessary steps to ensure that the legislative agenda for the emergency sitting is not delayed. And in business, Gold Board has directed all SFAs to refine gold door locally before it can be exported. And on the international front, Nepal flood swept through villages, killing at least 8 people and damaging roads and power projects. We bring you details of these stories shortly. Thank you for staying with us. Remember, this news is live on Facebook and on YouTube at Bena TV. Now, let's move on to our first story. Starting off with politics in Parliament, the minority in Parliament has called on the majority caucus to ensure that all businesses scheduled for consideration during a 5-day emergency recall of the House are brought before Parliament for deliberation. The demand follows a sitting that ended without Parliament considering some of the key legislative businesses that had prompted the emergency recall, raising concerns among minority members about whether the purpose of the exercise was being fully achieved. According to the minority, Parliament should make effective use of the limited period for which it has been recalled and ensure that bills and other matters listed for consideration are ready for the House. Speaking on the floor of Parliament on Tuesday, August 25th, Minority Chief Whip Frank Anudrompre questioned the decision to adjourn the House after what he described as only a short period of deliberations. He urged the majority to take the necessary steps to ensure that the legislative agenda for the emergency sitting is not delayed or frustrated by the lack of preparedness. National Security Coordinator COP Abdul Razak Osman has called for stronger, impartial and proactive enforcement of Ghana's Vigilantism and Related Offences Act 2019 Act 999, warning that political vigilantism remains a threat to the country's democratic stability. 25. COP Osman said the protection of Ghana's democracy was a shared responsibility involving security agencies, political parties, traditional and religious leaders, the media, civil society, and citizens. COP Osman said Act 999, which was enacted to prohibit vigilantism and related activities, was a timely response to threats posed by organized political groups that used intimidation and violence to influence political processes. According to him, the law goes beyond political vigilantism and covers acts of threats of violence undertaken to advance the interests of persons affiliated with political parties, political office holders, public officers, landowners, real estate developers, and other categories specified under the law. Assessing the implementation of Act 999 7 years after its passage, the National Security Coordinator said Ghana had recorded relative improvement in election-related security. He noted that organized vigilante formations that previously operated openly with identifiable names, uniforms, and command structures had declined. However, he cautioned that the phenomenon had not been completely eliminated, particularly as some groups were allegedly rebranding themselves as internal security teams, volunteer task forces, or community security initiatives. He also expressed concern that political mobilization linked to vigilantism was increasingly moving into online spaces, including social media and encrypted communication platforms. COP Osman acknowledged that prosecutions under Act 999 had been limited and that some legal processes had been slow. He nevertheless insisted that the law remained in force and would be enforced fairly and without fear or favor. The National Security Coordinator said the credibility of Act 999 depends not only on what is prohibited but also on how it was enforced. Moving on, the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority (DVLA) has seized more than 130 vehicles suspected to have been cloned or brought into Ghana through channels designed to evade import duties. Following the development of new vehicle clone detection system, the DVLA Chief Executive Officer Julius Nikwe Korte disclosed this in a statement on Facebook, saying the authority has integrated clone detection machines known as OBD-II scanners into its vehicle verification and registration processes.
Mr. Korte said the scanners actively identify vehicles brought into the country through unapproved channels that unlawfully copy the vehicle identification numbers of legitimate vehicles awaiting registration. According to Korte, the technology also stops a recurring problem in which legal vehicle owners are mistakenly flagged in the system as already registered, a situation caused by fraudulent duplication of their vehicles' identification numbers. He described the deployment as proactive security measure that drastically improves the accuracy, integrity, and reliability of the National Vehicle Register. Following the introduction of the clone detection systems, the DVLA said it had successfully intercepted and seized more than 130 suspected cloned or duty-evading vehicles. The authority has also established a temporary, flexible arrangement with the Customs Division to allow affected vehicle owners to regularize and clear their outstanding import duty payments, Korte said.
Government is targeting 2027 for the full operationalization of its Virtual Asset Service Providers Act 2025, Act 1154, as the Bank of Ghana and Securities and Exchange Commission work to develop the regulatory framework for the rapidly evolving sector. Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, said the two institutions are developing operational guidelines and implementing policy sandboxes to support the effective implementation of the law.
Speaking at the inauguration of the Virtual Asset Coordinating Committee, Dr. Isiama said the legislation was a critical step in bringing Ghana's growing virtual asset sector under a formal regulatory framework. The act was enacted following concerns raised by Ghana's 2024 National Anti-Money Laundering, Counter-Terrorist Financing and Proliferation Financing Risk Assessment. According to Dr. Isiama, the assessment reveals significant adoption and use of virtual assets in Ghana, alongside increasing links between the sector and the formal financial system. The governor said the development of operational guidelines and policy sandboxes by the BOG and SEC would help provide the regulatory infrastructure needed to implement the law. Dr. Isiama said the establishment of VACC is another important component of the implementation process, as it will bring together key institutions responsible for overseeing different aspects of the sector. The committee comprises representatives from the Bank of Ghana, SEC, Ministry of Finance, Cybersecurity Authority, and Financial Intelligence Center, with provision of other relevant institutions to be co-opted when necessary.
You're still watching Vena Midday News on Vena TV. We're going for a quick turn. We'll bring you more business and other stories. Stay with us.
ciniki me kake sayarwa abincin ci ne ko kuwa rigar sawa ne. Kasuwan Baina is here to take your business to the next level and then give your business the spotlight it needs. It doesn't matter where you are. Call us, Kasuwan Baina will come. So take this number 053-948-7757. Let's take your business to the next level. Kasuwan Baina, Kasuwan Baina. Let's go together.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
The word Islam is an Arabic word which means surrender. As a Muslim, you surrender yourself to the Almighty Allah, your Creator. To do that, we need to understand the concept of Islam. Baina TV comes your way with the most educative and informative Islamic program, Understanding Islam. On this show, we answer all the questions regarding Islam, the do's and the don'ts of the Sharia, and many others. Make a date with me, Aisha Muhammad Saqib, this and every Friday at 10:30 a.m. as we educate ourselves with the knowledge of the deen.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Saduku da zuwa Faisal Kamamin Herbal Treatment Center. Sunana Usman, Dr. Usman Mami Kunata. Ni na zama stroke specialist ne sosai, wanda yake na fara ciki sosai, wanda yake idan mutum ka zo nan da ciwon stroke, insha Allah ba za ka koma da shi kuma ba. Next invasive specialist. Yasa idan mutum ka zo nan ga da ciwo insha Allah ka samu lafiya kanka.
Obi ya stroke ya dai aha o make am fufa zero with the amount. Sano obi ya over body pains, ubona mu ya we ya usisi ko to dey make am fu Isa Kamamin herbal mixture at the amount. When so Isa Kamamin blood tonic, walk to hospital you say moja swate make am fu Isa Kamamin herbal tonic at the amount. Numbi e be boa mo moja na ba ye. Sana wa wuntimi didi make am fu zero with the amount. Nya me boa be twan kontom wa e de asanya ko di ani monyam. When Isa Kamamin nymphless mixture ha aduro we obi biara owo infection, diabetes, gonorrhea, syphilis, babaso enamu ya de biara ha oni padua no osaka nymphless mixture we a nyame be ya dom ama ya so kwati ma ya odia wow immune system e wo form just we padua na ho de nse de nim no ma osanka aduro bi ne no e be yen faso bibiri e de ama we mamin entio obi a wo henia e tu e wo so me kanfo sa aduro di ama so ba mo de ma osanka bi nennom nyame tumi wa ya so nko e be tumi aya odia we mamin paralysis obi a stroke ya de ha ne kanfo aduro di ama anasa wo ho ana wo na etitiriti e moja ni flow se ne se na fata ba mo de ma osanka mamin paralysis e be yen faso ama wo na brane when so slashing sa adroway a year juma bo juma se fiada mpaibo obi a woni paduanim efia boss woni paduanim amamman ne ade ade o ma usaka we a efi biara woni paduanim no e be wo hora slash wo bodunim ama wanka so usa ampa woni paduanim bibi etrim e be mo nya ahode soroko ma usanka mame flashing ne be mfa so de ama we mamin also powder obi a also yade hawo no ana wudi bi de to yema na oyem ya oye kuro ba oye funo mo me kan fo ba adrowe di ma nyame ya to ma usaka adrowe a asa so e be tuma ya
ba wani matsaloli saka mami ya kuma ko da wata cikin kofa ne matsalolin koda jinyar hijama kuma raunin karfin maza sexual weakness za ku iya samun saka mami a Accra Malam Bawi Bulemi Usmanu Junction.
Domin neman karin bayani, ku tuntubi Isa Kamami a 0257-908692 ko kuwa 0537-960730 sa'annan 0241-578955.
Welcome back. If you just tuned in, this is Vena Midday News on Vena TV, and you can watch us live on Facebook and on YouTube at Vena TV. Now let's move on to other business story. The Ghana Gold Board has directed all self-financing aggregators to refine gold doré locally before it can be exported from Ghana in a move aimed at deepening value addition in the country's gold industry. The directive, contained in a compliance notice dated August 24, 2026, takes effect September 1st, 2024, and applies to all SFAs and their approved off-takers.
Under the new requirement, SFAs will no longer be permitted to export gold ore in its unrefined form. Every off-take agreement or commercial arrangement between SFA and approved off-taker must expressly provide for the gold to be refined in Ghana before export. The directive forms part of Gold Board's mandate under the Ghana Gold Board Act 2005 Act 1140 to regulate the purchase, sale, refining, value addition, and export of gold in the country. Gold Board said all refining must be carried out at a refinery approved or designated by the board in accordance with applicable regulatory requirements. The board has also reserved the right to determine the refinery to be used for particular gold consignments and to issue additional operational directives governing the refining process. The cost of refining will be borne by either the SFA or the approved off-taker, depending on their commercial arrangements. Gold Board said the applicable refining charges must be paid or otherwise settled before the refined gold is exported. All existing off-take agreements must be amended by August 31st, 2026 to incorporate the mandatory local refining requirements. Gold Board said it may request evidence of such amendments at any time. From September 1st, Gold Board would only process export requests after confirming that the gold has been refined in Ghana. The applicable refining charges have been settled and all assay, regulatory and export requirements have been met.
Now moving on to some news beyond our borders, Nepal sent helicopters to the rescue after a huge flash flood swept away villages, killing at least 8 people and damaging roads, bridges and power projects in areas near Tibet. Authorities said the waters were too high for helicopters to land in Nepal's affected areas in Saipuru, Besi and Timeru in the mountainous district of Rasuwa, with a population of about 50,000, officials said on Wednesday.
Xinhua official news agency says there were major casualties across the border, with people missing in the neighboring county of Gyeongrong after a mudslide hit a land crossing between China and Nepal. The mudslide hit China's Gyeongsang port, cutting off roads, communications and power in the Shigazi region. President Xi Jinping urged all-out efforts to search for the missing and called for strengthening monitoring and early warning systems to prevent secondary disaster. As the flood swept through Nepal's northern Rasuwa district, videos shared by Nepal police and others on social media showed torrents of muddy water crashing through mountain valleys. Prime Minister Balendra Shah convened an emergency meeting at the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Authority to take stock of the situation. The Nepal Army said it had deployed helicopters and disaster response personnel to the affected area. The Nepal Electricity Authority said about 430 megawatts of production capacity, including from hydropower and solar facilities, have been damaged. Several highways were also closed, authorities said. The Bote-Koshi River originates in Tibet and empties into Nepal's Truishi River that eventually flows into India as the Gandak River.
Now moving on to sports, Ghanaian ringer